Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Movie Mates Review on the channel. I am Matthew, of course, joined by my wonderful co-host and best friend.
Callum.
Hey man, great to see you. Now today we've got another Netflix original for you guys. We've done loads of these recently. All our Riverdale ones kind of fall under that same banner as well. But also, if you remember our Kissing Booth ones back in the day with Cash, we've done those, and yeah, loads of Netflix originals. There's a whole playlist there for you guys to check out. Today we've got a new one called Kate, starring Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I'll pass over to you, Callum, to explain what the film's about because it's gone a bit under the radar. It was in the it barely got the top 10 in the UK for its opening week. I think it's only been out a few days, or maybe like the last week or something. But yeah, it's gone on the radar. So I'll let you explain what it's about then.
So we have the character of Kate, who is a Black Widow style assassin. Who is part of this organization who assassinate high value targets. And she decides she wants to retire. And on the night of her final mission, she is poisoned. And the whole film is her tracking down the person responsible. Throughout Japan, I believe it is. It's a film. I haven't split it I haven't split my thoughts into non-spoiler and spoiler, because I think when it comes to Netflix, I think people either watch it when it comes out or they don't.
Yeah, it's more accessible,
I don't think
isn't
people
it?
are coming to it a few weeks later. So would you mind if we just
Yeah,
did full spoilers for this?
Yeah, that sounds good. That's how I organize my notes anyway. But yeah, just before we kick off today's review, thank you very much for everyone who supported us recently. I know Callum and myself really do appreciate that loads. And of course, our email and our iTunes links always in the description. You guys know the drill. But yeah, man, I'll let you open the floor with your thoughts on the film then.
So we have this character, and she mentions early on to Woody Harrelson's character Valorant, I think is his name. She hasn't missed a target in 12 years. That really called into question, how old this character was, how young she started. And we find out that she is, in a similar vein to Black Widow. She was sort of raised, from early childhood in this situation, so she had no control over it. And I think, quite honestly, her age would have greatly changed how I felt about her. Because if she was doing all of this and it had been, the personal choice of a 20-year-old, I would have felt very different to the character.
Yeah, definitely. It's a good way to add backstory in that classic Black Widow sense. And naturally, when we compare to Black Widow, I think this is a movie where it's very easily compared to a lot of others in its genre. Not that it's overly cliche or generic, but I think it does borrow a lot from a lot of different films of a similar theme. But that being said, I think the movie's really gorgeous to look at. Like it's so vibrant but also dark at the same time, and it's got these like beautiful sort of neon aspect to it. It's visually stunning. Like these Netflix films just get better and better to look at. Really, like it's clear that they're getting more and more big budgets behind it, which is always good to see.
Yeah, and I'd say it's probably some of the most impressive fight choreography that they've ever delivered. In the vein of John Wick and Mission Impossible. I'd say her early fight with the Yakuza in the sort of tented building almost, where they're tearing through the walls. And
It's really good.
she's it's essentially the Mission Impossible Fallout bathroom scene, but with knives. And I think that if you're using a weapon, I'm not going to say that I'm like cheering on violence, but when you're expecting violence and you see an action scene, I think that knives create this sort of up close and personal style that I think not to sound a bit too much like the Joker from the Dark Knight,
I know what you mean.
but at least for the visual appeal of an action sequence, I think knives work better.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. Like I think the
That
action
sounds
is
rough.
no, it doesn't. I know what you mean exactly. Like the movie doesn't shy away from violence whatsoever. The action's really, really good, and it seems like for the most part, like Mary Elizabeth Winstead really carries it as well. Like she seems to do a lot of her own stunts as well, which is great to see. Yeah, I really have nothing but positive things to say about the action aspect of the film. The plot isn't necessarily as good as that, unfortunately. But in regards to pacing and those kind of things, like it's pretty action packed. I think it all has to take place within 24 hours anyway, because that's how long the poison takes to inevitably kill her, which is we'll get on to. So I think yeah, it's real. It always reminds me of kind of like a TV episode kind of thing. It's not overly
Hmm.
it's not overly long or anything like that, but it's kind of self-contained in its own story really nicely. So yeah, nothing but positive things to say.
Unless I missed, the passage of time within the film, to me it was very unclear because uh, we see Kate on her mission where she kills Annie's father, and then later when we're reintroduced to Annie, it seems like it's been one day or something, but it seems to have been, she references that she hasn't seen her uncle who we saw her with in the scene before, that she hasn't seen him in over a year. So I suppose the passage of time has been a year, but then why would it take a year for Kate to be like, oh, I killed in the presence of a child, I want to retire. Oh, my last mission is a year from now, and I've stayed in Japan for a year. Have I lost my mind or something? Like, is that not what happened?
I'm not too sure. I know in the marketing of the film they said that she's got 24 hours to live. So I think between when the poison is administered into her system and then by the end of the film, like that's a day. But I'm not.
Yeah, but
I wasn't.
I mean the
Wasn't
passage of time
100%
from
sure.
the first mission to the day that she gets poisoned.
That's interesting. Yeah, I didn't pick that up at all. But you're probably right. To be
Because
honest, I
Annie's
probably
just
missed that
like
one.
partying at the club, and like in my mind, I was like, "Your dad's died 24 hours before," and then she
Yeah.
says to Kate, "I haven't seen my uncle in a year," but her
Yeah.
uncle was in the car with her at the start of the movie, so it
Yeah.
must have been over a
You're
year. But
bound to
then
be
what?
right. Then you're definitely
Why
right.
between her announcing she wants to retire because she killed in front of a child, does she tolerate being in the situation for another year? And like, why has she stayed in Japan for the entire year? I didn't get it, but maybe
I
I missed
think
something.
I think the Annie character has some of the best lines of dialogue I've heard all year in cinema. I mean, there's some absolute belters in there. I'll maybe not repeat them because they are like horrific to say. But that being said, like the movie is just it feels quite sort of gritty. It feels really it feels dark, but also reasonably comedic as well with that sort of child adult dynamic as well with the Annie character. I think she's great, by the way. I think she's really good.
Yeah. I really like these Netflix films for the most part. And, I saw a lot of positives here. But, one thing that I can't stand in a script is, and I noticed less than 30 minutes in, this had happened 3 times. And I think it happened, at least 2 more times after that, was, you meet one character and they go, if you want the answers, you've got to talk to this person. And it
Yeah,
happened
it happens all the
three
time.
times in less than 30 minutes where, it's just every time she met someone that she thought would have the answers to her goal, it was like, oh, you need to talk to someone else, and then she kills them, talks to the other person, you need to talk to someone else, kills them, so on and so on, until they kill, you know until they tear through the entire the entire yakuza, really.
Yeah.
uh so the whole question throughout the film is who was responsible for the poisoning, and it seems to be answered very early on that it was the guy Steven, and they used to put up to it by the yakuza. But then we understand that the yakuza is actually working with, I said his name wrong earlier, Varric, played by Woody Harrelson. Obviously, I don't understand how it was even a consideration.
It's
For
really
a
predictable.
second, to anyone watching this film, anyone watching the trailer could have told you it was Woody Harrelson. I don't know how, he is sort of, he's not entirely responsible, because it was, it wasn't his plan that was put in motion, but it was, his betrayal that was responsible for it. And, you obviously wouldn't hire Woody Harrelson to just, have one scene at the start and then like do a couple of voiceovers like in a phone call. Like you wouldn't waste your money if if you weren't giving him a sizable role.
Million
And
percent.
I was just baffled that she didn't make any form of connection between this being her last mission. Like why like what are the chances that the time that she's poisoned is right when she's set to like leave his organization.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like the twist is non-existent really there, which is a pity because Woody Harrelson's kind of been typecast in these kind of bad guy roles these days. Planet of the Apes, Venom too as well. So it's becoming more and more popular for him to be that kind of bad guy now. So even just as casting alone, you kind of got a vibe of what's going on. I think the way the film doesn't shy away from Kate's death at the end, and they don't have a cure to that. I really respected that. It's quite sad, it's
Yeah.
quite definitive. But that being said, the twist beforehand is really bad. Like that is shocking,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
I respected them massively because her death was going to be the only fitting ending. I don't know that it was executed that well, and it being the last shot of the film, I don't know they maybe could have gone further, giving us because I mean, I think this really kills any chance of a potential sequel, because what do you call it?
Definitely.
Kate to Annie's story, like, it's not going to be,
Yeah.
you can't really link the two. But I think maybe a flash forward to see that, Annie was living, a happy, healthy life, not involved with murder, would have maybe been nice. But it was definitely the only fitting ending for Kate herself, and I'm glad they didn't try to find, as you said, like a convoluted way to save her, because I think most films that are mainstream Hollywood films would find a
Would have
way.
done that, yeah, 1,000,000%. Like
I
that's
mean,
what.
even like Kingsman: The Golden Circle, they retroactively bring Harry back in probably one of the most, like, intelligence insulting ways conceivable.
1,000,000%. I think a lot of Netflix films kind of have that a bit more creative freedom than your typical studio films for me. Like they always push the boundaries that tad bit more, in my opinion, and that's shown here. Like, I mean, the twist is horrifically bad, but that being said, the way they handled the death at the end, I really respected, because as you said, a lot of films would have found a way to, try to undo that. I think a potential sequel could be a prequel. You know what I mean? One of those ones where it's
I
back
suppose.
back in the day, of her with Fox organization, but then you kind of would have, you just, whenever Woody Harrelson would be on screen, you kind of be, incessantly annoyed at him. So you would. So I don't know if they'd bring him back or just try a new story. I'd be happy not for a sequel. It wasn't a film that kind of blew me away, and I thought, oh, I got to see more of this. You know what I mean? I thought it was pretty
Yeah.
good, and I was happy with how it ended.
Yeah, I was very indifferent. I watched this like just between doing other things, and I was like, okay, I have 2 hours available. I can push through this. But I wasn't engaged or excited by it. But I didn't have any huge issues. Aside from, I mean, can you complain about a twist being obvious? I don't know. If it's a good twist, maybe you can't complain that it's obvious. Because then it's maybe just up to you just being too good for the film, being
Too cool for
being
school.
too quick-minded. But I don't think this is a case of it was a good twist, but it was just obvious. I think it was just a bad twist, and an obvious one. But
Yeah.
Matthew, with this being a newish release, I think it's appropriate to ask: is this a massive hit or a piece of shit?
I think it's probably a massive hit, but that's only because the action is that good. If the action wasn't as good as it was and the film wasn't as visually stunning as it was, I think it would just be one of those generic ones that just passes me by and I kind of forget about a week later.
Yeah.
I think I'm never going to rewatch this film again. But that being said, like, it's not bad. I think Mary Elizabeth Winstead's really, really good. I haven't seen her. I'm surprised I haven't seen her a lot more stuff. You kind of mentioned to me that I forgot. She was in Birds of Prey, for instance. So I think she's fantastic, and I think the actress who plays Annie is fantastic. I'd love to see her get more work. So for me, yeah, it's a massive hit. What about you?
I definitely miss Space Sweepers. I really want to rewatch that because
It was good.
I was trying to remember the plot of the film the other day, and I was kind of struggling a little bit. But I remember how much I loved it. So maybe we can watch that together sometime. With this film, I have to agree. It's not bad enough to be a piece of shit. I think 80% of it's good, and then the twist lets it down so badly. But I think the action is so well executed. It's incredible. And I think it's a very intriguing one pitch line. Someone's saying, a retiring assassin is poisoned in Tokyo and has to find who's responsible. I think that sounds amazing. I just think the execution on the plot is poor. It's fairly paint by numbers, and then it relies on this twist that couldn't be more obvious. So I mean, the twist definitely lets it down. But I think everything else in it is, between good and incredible.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there, Cal. I agree completely. But yeah, that
That's
wraps
a
up
very
another.
short one for us.
It is, must be sub 15 minutes, maybe around that. Yeah, this is probably it actually is a mini review for a change. It's ironic how I've stopped calling them that, and now we do short reviews now. But yeah, thank you very much for your time today, Calm. Appreciate it, and thank you very much, viewers, for your time. As always, be sure to comment your thoughts and Kate down below. We'd love to read, react, and respond to them. And of course, email Action Sync. I've said that before already. So yeah, hope you guys are all well. Hope your family and friends are all safe and well too. Take care, everyone, and bye bye.
Bye.